What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. Let's talk a little basketball. The Bleacher Report just released their top 5 most overrated players in the NBA over the last 5 years. And I got some problems with the list, mostly because I don't know what we're defining, I guess, as overrated or how we're classifying it. The guys on this list, I don't know who's really rating them very high. Like, I feel like you have to be rated high to be overrated. A lot of these guys, I think people just think put up empty numbers or aren't that good. The first one, number 5 on the list, is going to be near and dear to home, and one that I think Phoenix fans are going to have to start learning a lot more about. Jalen Green. Now, I don't necessarily argue too much with this one. If you just looked at his raw numbers in the regular season, this was a guy that put up pretty substantial big numbers during the regular season. And then it was like, he averaged over 20 a game during the regular season. Then you get to the postseason where people can kind of game plan for you and they can force you to try and go to the weak parts of your game, and you have to try and beat them with that. And the moment people actually really game plan for him, it got rough. It got rough in a hurry in the playoffs. He had one good game, but for the most part, he was abysmal for Houston last year. And I think people are starting to get a little bit more known to the fact that, like, maybe he's just kind of an outlet run and gun open gym type player, not necessarily. The regular season's a lot more open gym than it is really execution, game plans, and everything. Postseason, you're seeing the same team over and over. You get to know everybody's moves, what they like to do, and you start playing a little bit more chess. And in those situations, your deficiencies really come forward, and it did for him. And so I actually don't really have too much of a problem with that one, because I think a lot of people looked at his raw numbers. There was a hot second, because of how many games Houston was winning, that people were trying to figure out. They had to almost have had 2 guys be all-stars or 2 guys near the All-NBA, and Sengun was going to get one. So people were trying to justify maybe putting Jalen Green on there. But again, I think they were just a collection of really good talent. And once they got to the postseason, people started playing it a little bit more. People dove into the tape. And once you got into tape, you learned kind of how you can go at them a little bit. But number 4, I don't know what we're doing here. Number 4 is Kyle Kuzma. Who's rating Kyle Kuzma high on anything? Who has any expectations of Kuzma ever since he was in the bubble with the Lakers? Bubble Lakers Kuzma got some hype. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that it is the Lakers, but for a second, people thought that he was going to kind of blossom into being like a really solid player. Then, things kind of, they make the trades, they make the moves after that. He ends up in DC, and he's got the green light, and the efficiency tanks, and he looks awful. And I don't know who in the NBA thought that he was good at that point. Then he gets traded basically for a bag of chips, sent to Milwaukee, and in the postseason, he is horrid. But going into that, like, I don't know who really has high ratings of him right now. Like, if you're not looked at as a good player or an efficient player, someone that people are value really high, how can you be overrated? People don't think he's that good. Unless you're saying he's complete trash, and then, like, since people think he's below average and he's complete trash, that's him being overrated, which I guess there's an argument there, but, like, I don't think overrated is the right term for him, because I don't think people think he's that good. Number 3 on the list would be DeAndre Ayton, another guy that has some dear ties here to Phoenix. Now, prior to kind of it all falling apart there in Phoenix, and how many times have we seen the video of him playing zero defense and just watching until Jokic finally gets that putback, and kind of the amount of laziness that he can at times show on the court. Again, I don't think you can say he's overrated, because I think the last few years, his stock has taken a major hit. When he was in Portland, he put up, he gave you a double-double, but everyone was just like, dude, like, it's the most empty calories this guy ate good. So I guess if you're looking through the stats of big men in the league and you're like, hey, like he's getting you 14 and 10, like he's solid. He's a double-double like for you every night. I guess, like, oh, he's got soft hands. He can hit like a little 10-footer. But anybody that talks in the NBA circles talks about how he looks disinterested and takes quarters off and takes nights off. And like, I don't know who's rating him so high that he would deserve to be on an overrated list, because I just don't think he gets rated that high. I think he's adequately viewed as a guy that has some serious question marks and some serious concerns on his team. He has potential like you wouldn't believe, but there's a lot about him that leaves you going like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't see it. And it's not like he's getting paid all that much either, to where now it's like a detriment to kind of your team. And then also speaks to, like, look at his contract, what he signed for. That's his value right now in the league. I think that's probably about right. Number 2 is Marcus Smart on this list. Now, I think a couple years ago, I could see this. When he was with Boston, he was, that defensive player of the year, the guy that was all out hustle and heart. I didn't really always buy it and like love it. He reminded me a lot of Dylan Brooks, and it felt like more show than substance. But since then, like if you're talking as of today, I think before he signed to the Lakers, a lot of people wouldn't know where he was and what he was doing, where he was playing. I don't think he's very highly rated and like highly sought after and respected in the NBA circles again. I think at one point he was really high. He started having health issues, lost a step, maybe a step and a half, and a lot of the wear and tear, because that man was taking a lot of charges. That man was flopping around all over the place. That body has gone through a lot to get to this point, and his health doesn't equate for a man his age. But I don't think he's overrated, because I think right now he's adequately viewed as a guy that's like, maybe you get some nights out of him, but he ain't gonna be someone that's gonna really be a focal point and piece of your team and kind of a guy that you're really excited about. The number 1 most overrated guy, according to Bleacher Report, would be Miles Bridges. Don't hate it. A lot of big numbers on a really terrible team, and that's typically, I think, how you get to be an overrated guy, is you stack up points on a team that's kind of no one even kind of thinks that, but all of a sudden you start looking at the stats and you're like, hey, like he's having a really good year. Charlotte can't get out of their own way, and he can't off the court get out of his own way. But a lot of the stuff going on there, like I just feel like his stats were a lot of empty calories. So I don't hate this one. It's pretty good, actually. So if you were to keep Jalen Green and Miles Bridges and you wanted to replace out the 3 other guys, I got 3 names that I think could be on this list that deservingly, when you look at where they're rated, where they're viewed, I think they are the 3 guys that should be on this list with those 2. Number 1 would be Norman Powell. Now, he has had a moment in the sun the last season, really kind of going to the postseason. Everyone thought that he deserved to be an all-star. There was a lot of people that are upset that when LeBron did his thing and didn't allow them to kind of sub in Powell to take his spot. But it felt like a guy that was a good energy player off the bench that gave you some points, was averaging over 20 during the regular season, 22. That dropped down to 16 in the postseason when you actually needed him, when they actually started kind of guarding him and having a little bit of the playbook on him. He was the benefactor of the fact that James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are up and down on their health when they're going to be out there and stuff like that. So he's going to get opportunities and nights where he's going to be the number 1 guy and his stats are going to look like it. And now he goes to Miami, and like, I just think it's weird. They got Tyler Hero could have easily been another guy that's kind of overrated, but I think people kind of softened a little bit on him too. They have a bunch of guys that are like B- players, and that's what I think Norman Powell is about a B-minus player. But I think within some circles, people look at him as a B-plus and a guy that could be an A-minus that you feel really good about. I don't think his ceiling's anywhere near there. I just think what you saw out of him this year is probably going to be the best that you're going to see out of him. And the fact that now everyone's thinking he's going to take a jump, I just don't see it. I think that is a guy that is overrated right now within the NBA. The next guy, and we saw a little bit of pushback, a little bit of rumbling on him, but Chet Holmgren of the Thunder, I think, is wildly overrated for a number of reasons. He is a guy that help side defense is pretty solid. On the ball, I don't think is that great. And he is a guy that absolutely struggles with his confidence. When something goes wrong, he is a guy that pouts. He's a guy that gets his head down. He's a guy that has a hard time getting relocked in and making an impact. So when he starts slow, and if you look at through the postseason, he had some rough nights. Going into the finals, I think into the last game, he was averaging shooting, it was like under 15% from three. And when that wasn't happening, he had games where he was scoring single digits, and he was lucky to get those few points that he did get. He was doing nothing. Now, after all that, they do win the title, and he gets all of the joys of that because then he signs his brand new 5-year, $240 million extension, which I don't think he's worth half of that. And so they're paying a bag for a guy, which you somewhat have to do if you win a title. But that's also going to be the undoing of the Thunder, in my opinion. And the biggest reason why I look at this as being the problem of why you pay a guy like that, 3 years in, this guy has missed more games than he has played in, and he is a big man. Big guys don't historically get healthier as they get older, but he has played in 114 games in the regular season. He has missed 132 games. And he's only averaging 15 and 8. But we just gave him the rookie Supermax extension. 15 and 8. By the way, that's worse numbers than Aiden. And Aiden just signed for like 6 mil, 5 mil, whatever it was. Just say, massive contract for a guy that misses half of his games and struggles with his confidence, and you can see it come and go. Not a guy that I would want to pay that much, not a guy that I believe in long term. The last guy that I got on this list, and this is another very interesting one because of what they got going on with that team. But San Antonio's De'Aaron Fox. Now, they draft a point guard really high at Harvard. You feel like they are going to be set and ready to go there, and that there is some belief that you're moving Fox to that point. And instead, they sign him to a 4-year, $229 million deal, which is more per year than what Chet was getting. And here's the thing. I don't know if he's the top 10 point guard in the league. He's good, and I think you feel happy about him, but I think we know where the ceiling is. It's not like he's a rookie. He's been in the league for a while. And it's good, not great. And I don't know if that is a top 10 player. Case in point. Guys that are point guards that are definitively better than him, and I think you can't argue against this. We got SGA, Cade Cunningham, Brunson, Curry, Halliburton, Garland, Luka. 7 guys for sure that are better than him. After that, you got a list of guys that I think are arguable. And, you only need 3 more of these guys from this list for him to not be in the top 10. Jamal Murray, a little hot and cold, but when he's hot, he's as good as anybody. Trae Young, a guy that's constantly viewed as overrated because he puts up massive numbers on a terrible team, but we did see him make the Eastern Conference Finals. We have seen him go on some runs. Efficiency, maybe not where you want it to be, but a guy that still, has some incredible stats right there. Just maybe not the consistency on a team success that you would want. But is he better than De'Aaron Fox? Does De'Aaron Fox get that team to the Eastern Conference Finals? I don't think so. Tyrese Maxey. There was a hot second where he was looked at as maybe being the new face of the 76ers with Joel kind of having all of these injuries. He's really good, but he's cool. He had a down year, but I think Fox is probably better, but there's an argument to be made there. John Morant. We know the baggage that comes with John Morant. Everybody does, but it's hard to deny what he does on the court when he actually plays. Guy's a walking highlight, plays incredibly hard, and gets it done. It's just how often are we going to see him on there? Can he fix everything he's got going off the court? I don't know. Kyrie Irving. Last time we saw him, he's been pretty incredible. Now he's going to miss most of this entire year. What's he going to look like when he comes back? Hard to say. But his resume, where he is and everything, speaks for itself. And I don't know if you take him and switch him for De'Aaron Fox if they win those titles. I don't know historically. I think the career clearly goes to Kyrie. And now it's kind of a wait and see what he looks like when he comes back from his knee injury. But the version of him that we saw before he got hurt this past season, I think was better than De'Aaron Fox. Tyler Hero. I think I go Fox on this one because I think Tyler Hero for a hot second was wildly overrated, and I think it's come back down to earth a little bit. But there's an argument. Like, Tyler Hero is a better shooter. There's some things that he does that Fox can't do. There's an argument. That's all I'm saying. And the last one, and, this is kind of a weird one too, but where are we at with Damian Lillard at this point? It was a colossal fail of what happened with him in Milwaukee. Knee's gone. He's going to miss a season. But this guy is still a top 30 player all time. He's probably the second best shooter, somewhere around there, third best shooter ever. And that was one failed attempt at a team with him teaming up with Giannis over there in Milwaukee. What is he actually? Can he figure it out? Is he best just being in a team like Portland? Was he just that unhappy that he couldn't play his best ball? I don't know. We'll see what he looks like when he comes back from injury. I think this past season you would have to say that Fox probably had a better year than Lillard. But any version of Lillard in Portland is better than any version we've ever seen of Fox. So do we ever get back to that? Do we ever see that version of Lillard again? I hope so, because that was a very fun, incredible NBA player to watch. So, yeah, I would have De'Aaron Fox, Chet Holmgren, Norman Powell on that list. I don't know. Is there any names that you think I left off? If there was one honorable mention, I think Austin Reeves is flirting with this. People think he's about to be Supermax. I think he's a very solid player for the Lakers, but I think it's kind of the Laker brand that has blown him up a lot more than anything. And he had a very hard time adjusting. I think he was great as the number 2 option of a ball-like handler, but when they brought in Luka and LeBron, he seemed to very much struggle in finding his new role. Maybe the offseason will be enough for him to adjust and find that player again, but people are talking about him being like a max player. That's why he didn't sign his extension. I don't know. I don't know about all that. Anybody else? Any other names that you look at right now that are genuinely overrated? Because, again, that was my big issue with this list. Who's rating Kyle Kuzma high? Anybody. You show me that person, and I'll show you the only person because he's the only guy. There's nobody that looks at Kyle Kuzma as being good anymore. So, I guess, maybe whoever it was in Milwaukee, but it was such a desperation move that they just did. So, I don't know. Those are the guys that stood out to me. Anyone that I'm missing, anyone that you like or think is a little bit more overrated and deserve to be on this list, let me know.